of you in town at the same time and on the show together.
Well,
I mean, because you guys had to be together, you know. I couldn't just do solo ones.
And we're the Bobbsey twins.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. No, thanks for having us.
No, absolutely.
Glad
I've
to
been
be
looking
here.
forward to this.
Yeah.
glad to be here.
Yeah, no.
Doesn't
We-
take much when you offer some really good bourbon and cigars.
Yeah, you offer a few
Little bribery, I
cigars,
think.
you offer a little bit of
We're
bourbon.
pretty easy
and-
once
Yeah.
that came up.
Well,
yeah.
you guys are like cigar connoisseurs, so like, I mean, you're up there. Like, you guys give me shit, but like Mario especially, like you're like super cigar aficionado over here.
I'm not George Burns yet, but
Not yet.
I'm getting close.
You're working on it.
And don't even say I'm as old as George Burns, because that's not even close. Yeah.
We're already starting there. I see. Yeah, I knew it was gonna get there pretty quick tonight. I mean, because the three of us in a room together, there's gonna be a lot of shit talking. So y'all are forewarned right now. Like, this is gonna go back. We've known each other for like what, 15 years now. So
It's been a
Yeah.
minute. It's been a minute. No
I mean,
doubt.
I'm happy to have another OU guy on here. You know, I've had a
Boomer.
lot of Longhorns on here, and I've had an OU streak going, which will come to an end real soon. But
I wouldn't recommend it, but
Right.
you know, I appreciate you bringing the smoke wagon. I said it's an Oklahoma smoke show
yeah,
kind of night, so I appreciate that.
yeah,
You know what us Okies enjoy. And,
yeah. You can't go wrong with pairing smoke wagon with cigars. I mean, like, it's just good. I actually hadn't had this rye, so you guys always ask, what are we smoking? What are we drinking? Well, tonight it's all smoke wagon, so that's out of Nevada. This stuff is super hard to get at times, especially the uncut, unfiltered, which we got here. That's what they're drinking. I had to try the rye because I hadn't had it yet. This is a straight rye, malted rye. It's batch 9 from January 15th, 2023. It's really damn good. Although I just had a really good rye the other day. My buddies in the locals just did 2 picks with not Still Austin, 6th Street down in Austin. And they got some like 11-year-old-ish MGP rye. Holy shit,
good.
it was good.
Wow. Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Smoking wise, since these guys are such aficionados here, I had to start them off with the Alfonso Anejo number 3s because I don't think either of them had that yet.
No,
Nope,
sir.
First one.
That's a very
choice.
top of the line premier cigar. You can get it here at Industrial Cigars. Highly, highly recommend them. Treat yourself to one if you haven't done it. They just got these La Polinas in. This is a newer one. They're called the Goldies. It's a series of 3 different sizes. This one apparently is the oldest. They each got one of those too. I think they're saving those. I don't blame them. This is like early 2000s tobacco. Super smooth, really good draw, really great roll. I don't know who actually makes them or who's behind this, but they're phenomenal. So
I look forward to smoking that one on the patio.
yeah, it's a really good smoke. I've smoked the larger gauge one. They're all Lanceros, but like larger gauge ones. I smoked that one a couple days ago. It was phenomenal, like super good burn, really good smoke. I think you guys will like those.
Great choice, Garrett. Great
Yeah.
choice.
We
Wow.
appreciate the gifts. There's no doubt to get us here. You didn't have to go this top of the line for me. I am from Oklahoma.
I mean, you made me get you a mani and pedi and send you to the spa and everything else. I mean, I was surprised you didn't ask for a makeup artist or something.
I thought I was getting a makeup artist. That's why I showed up early. But appreciate the non-makeup
I try.
out there. Yeah. So hopefully I'm looking good. I'm being not as red as normal. Probably so.
We'll
with
get
drinking
there.
the smoke wagon.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get the Cherokee stuff flowing here in a little bit.
Good.
Well, for those of you that keep asking, you guys have been super interested in me having industry people on. I can't think of 2 better ones that are more on the supplier side. I don't think I've really done that yet. So I've been super anxious to get both of these guys on here. Like I said, we go back. These guys are both really big-time industry leaders, at least in my book. They've been around for a really long time. No, old jokes aside, It's very rare. Both of them have been with Behr for over 20 years apiece, right?
Yes, sir.
Like you're what now?
This is my 22nd year.
22nd year, and you're what?
Monday will be 25.
25
happy
years.
anniversary, Mario.
Yeah.
Thank you. Couldn't have come at a better
I
time.
mean, how many people know somebody that's been with a single company for 20 plus years? I mean, like,
It's pretty rare.
it's pretty rare. I mean, I'm coming up on 15 at Element.
That's
so,
pretty
I mean,
good.
Like, but you just don't hear that a lot. I mean, we joke about how big the industry is, but how small it is. And
Absolutely.
a lot of people may stay in multifamily, but they move around. You guys have both come up in Behr and maintained there. Tell us, whichever one of you wants to start first, maybe you, Mario, since you've got the longest tenure there. How did your Behr journey start with Behr Paint?
Yeah. So as probably everybody knows, we distribute our product through a pretty big retailer, a big box store. I used to work for that big box and became pretty good buddies with the rep at that big box and left the big box, got into sales, and met my wife at the big box, believe it or not. And, you know, she thought she was my boss back then, and she still acts like she's my boss.
She's your boss now.
I believe it. That was part of our scheduling conflicts. We had to get the boss to sign off.
We all have CEOs at home.
And, you know, I thought I was going to go pursue some other interests outside the industry and reconnected. I was actually selling alarm systems and ended up selling my rep, his girlfriend at the time, an alarm system. And he goes, hey, why don't you just come work for Behr? And I was like, no, I'm having a lot of fun what I'm doing. And he, you know, kind of went out for drinks one night, and that was it. So ended up coming back. So it's been a ride.
What did you start out doing with Behr?
I was an inside sales rep, kind of repping stores.
Yeah.
You know, did that for a few years. Started off where the corporate office is based in Southern California. Then I moved to Vegas. They asked me to open up some stores. I moved to Vegas and spent about 4 years in Vegas. And back then, it was interesting because everything in Vegas was open 24 hours. I used to go rep even in the middle of the night, and man, you'd find some pretty interesting customers.
Is that what you told the boss, or is that a real thing?
No, believe it or not, the only thing
true story.
The only thing that kept me sane in Vegas was working all the time, and the fact that the stores were open day and night, I could work as long as I could. So,
And back then, you had to.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and then I got promoted out of Vegas, took a regional sales manager job from Vegas, and then ultimately moving to Arizona, which spent about 4 years there. And after that, the same boss asked me to come to Texas. At first, I told him no, just because I'd already uplifted my family. I had just started a family, had a new baby, kind of wanted to settle in and kind of create some roots, and visited Texas. I'd never been to Texas and just absolutely fell in love with Texas. So Texas is definitely where my kids, what they call home, and what I hope to call home for probably the rest of my life. So it's just been awesome here.
Awesome. And what's your current role with Behr?
So I do national accounts, kind of call on, help create some strategy. You know, we pick a segment that we really focus on, obviously the industry we're in multifamily.
Yep.
And call on some of the larger operator companies that manage large portfolios, and kind of have diversified a little bit, starting to call on, with the housing demand, starting to call on developers and builders, kind of connect it all together. So
Awesome.
it's been a ride, been a great ride. I wouldn't have met you if I didn't get into multifamily.
Yeah.
We have a
What
lot
about
more
you,
fun.
Rivers?
Yeah, no doubt. No, Mario. Mario, we call him the grandfather of multifamily. Those of you that don't know, that Mario is younger than I am, so for me to call him grandfather, that's fantastic. So
It's a compliment.
I
I'll
love
take
it.
that.
No, absolutely taught me a lot.
Grandfather, I don't know if you can make those jokes anymore, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a pawpaw.
You're gonna be a pawpaw soon.
Pawpaw or a peepaw, or I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna let the
You haven't
kid
decided?
No. The wife and I have trying to figure out our name, and I don't know. We find out pretty soon what my son is, what they're gonna have here. They're gonna find out. That's the gender reveal. That's the thing now, right? Some people want to find out, some people don't. So the cat's out of the bag, so I can talk about it. But yes, I'm going to be a grandfather or G daddy. I don't know. I got a flat bill cap. Why can't I be G daddy? You know, maybe. I don't know. But
what's Tasha's vote so far? Because we know that's where it's going to start and stop.
Yeah. She wanted to veer away from Paw, and
she didn't want to be Meemaw.
No Meemaw.
That's where that goes.
Yeah, no Meemaw. I'm kind of going Pops. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, this will be my 22nd year with Behr, and like Mario, I started with that big box piece, calling on those big box stores for about 9 years, and it was a lot of growing at that time. So when I got hired on, I was already selling to that big box, selling generators and pressure washers back in 1999. So generators were a thing. Y2K, baby. Oh, what you going to say?
No, nothing.
Yeah, right after you were born or graduated? What was it?
Graduated high school.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
What were you doing in 99?
I look like I just.
That was 98, but you know.
99, I look like I graduated high school. Let's
true.
just put it that way. So thanks, Mom, for that. Yeah, all my genes come from my mama. So, and not the bedazzled ones. I know it was coming. So look. I don't have them on.
I know.
It's all regular old Wranglers.
You didn't go full Luke Bryant on us today.
No. So about 9 years with that, and a lot of people don't know that Behr didn't have what we call an outside or commercial sales team. And Mario was the start of that when he came to Texas. So I jumped on that team as soon as I could as an outside sales rep. So that's where I would call on, clients like yourself and out there in the industry, all the management and ownership groups. So that was a good time. It's where I got all this gray hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel you, man. My beard's getting grayer by the day.
Yeah, I'm Santa Claus for sure if I grew it out, which I did. My wife hated it, CEO, so I keep it nice and tight. Little
Come
fuzz.
on, Tosh.
Yeah, come on. But I thought it looked good.
We want to see him look like Whiskey Myers.
I did look like Kenny Rogers, I think. I don't know. It was a good look. I thought it was a good look. We had a competition to grow a beard, and I got second place. So, Gensler, you got third. Oh, yeah, for you that's listening.
Too bad Gensler's traveling.
Yeah,
he wanted a
he's probably-
hotline to call in on. That was going to get real interesting quickly.
It didn't. Yeah, no hotline. Thank God.
I'm waiting to see if my phone lights up.
Yeah.
If Gensler calls, I might actually take it and put him on speakerphone.
We don't need a hotline.
That would be a first. We haven't done that on the show yet, but I'd consider it. Actually, we did do that once. We did take a call. I can't say we haven't ever done that.
Really?
We haven't tied it in yet. I don't know how to tie it into the board and all that stuff. But yeah, that would be.
Well, you can work on that.
We'll
That's
work
goals.
on that. Yeah, goals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, long story short, did that for a little while, about 6 years, and then now I'm the regional sales manager. So I got a team of folks like I used to be and cover state of Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and now we've grown so much that I only have to cover Fort Worth and Austin.
Yeah.
So it's nice. What you said is so true. Not a lot of people have been in their one job for over 15 years is great. 20 years, when I first started with Behr, and I saw, at our award show, and people been there 20 years, 30 years, I was like, I want to be that guy one day.
Yeah.
I want to be somewhere where I belong, and our culture is really, really good. Our company's great. A lot of people leave and wish they hadn't.
Yeah.
So
it's true.
I think when it comes to common sense, I kind of said, hey man, are you going to talk about common sense to me? Staying with a company that treats you right, it's common sense.
Yeah.
To me, that's common sense. So
everything you guys have done has always been top notch. I'll never forget early on when I got to go do the Behr experience in California. I don't even know if you guys still do that, but that was so badass. You guys treat everybody like royalty. It wasn't just a bunch of sales guys there either. There was painters, owners of paint companies, there was management guys there was GC guys there, owners and sales guys. that was a trip I'll never forget. Like that was just an amazing trip, and like learning all the intricacies of what you guys do that differentiates you from the industry. Really cool. Very well done.
Yeah, we still do that trip. We're getting ready to do another, and we've had some great times out there, right, Mario?
Yeah,
Mario's gotten to go to a lot
uh,
more than I have, but
I think that was the one where do you remember the sandcastle that was in the middle of the lobby?
Oh,
That was somewhat restructured.
the
or
big one I remember.
Renovated.
I remember Randy betting a Hyundai.
yeah, some guy from Boston, when I said I'll bet a Hyundai
Yeah.
that they don't make the Super
He
Bowl,
was
which they didn't.
He was convinced that you bet him a Hyundai.
He thought I bet him a car, and I said I bet him a Hyundai. He didn't know what a Hyundai was. I asked the room.
That's
and
a
most
yeah.
well, most
That's a
people
Southern
knew,
thing, Randy.
most people knew what a Hyundai was, but this guy from Boston didn't know what.
Oh man,
he
that,
thought
that
it was
was
a Hyundai.
pure greatness out of nowhere.
So I should have received a car.
Yeah, I think
They
he owes
didn't
you a
make
Hyundai.
it. No, they didn't make it. They didn't make it that year. So no, that was a great trip, and I was glad to be alongside you, and we got to play Pelican Hill
Pelican Hill
while
was
we were
awesome.
out there.
That was
right?
great.
It was good experience. So
I mean, I think the cool things too was seeing some of the stuff that you guys like behind the scenes show. Like at the time, I didn't know. Like when you guys get a Behr, you know, we get asked to on my GC side, we get asked to like help with colors sometimes on paint jobs and stuff. Like knowing that like it's called a fan deck when they give you the big fan deck of cards that has all the colors on it. I think you guys are still the only ones that actually put paint on your fan deck. Like what you're seeing is that actual color in paint. Like it's not printed, it's not, I mean, I guess it is kind of printed, but it's printed with paint.
Yep.
So that, you know, just little things like that was super cool to learn. I mean, you guys really empower people to help them sell your product, you know, which is really cool because the paint industry is super hard.
It's tough.
I've always joked if I ever went anywhere else, I would probably be selling paint. Like, you know, like that's, to me, like I feel like that would be like my next option. But it's such a hard job, and like there's so many people that have input on paint when it comes to making a paint decision, that getting to the right person or dealing with that. What has worked best for you guys on that? Because that's always the biggest thing. Like once you get the job, it's how many samples do we have to put up? How are we going to get, how many renderings do we have to do? How do we get them to the color combo that they want?
Yeah, that's
what does 20 plus years say on this? I'm super interested to hear.
Well, first of all, color. It's all about color, right? Color is very emotional, and it can be very subjective, right?
Yeah.
The color you may like may not be the person that's another stakeholder making a decision on color. They may not see it the same way. So
Yeah.
it's really a combination of trying to find the right fit based on what the inspiration is on what they're doing, right? I mean, God,
Yeah.
we've had, if you don't know what the vision is for that asset or that property, it's all about curb appeal, right?
Yeah.
And, we're dealing with assets where people live, they call home, and most of these operators or owners, they want to make sure that, hey, if there's a block or a row of these apartments or communities, which one looks like it's the best maintained, and the aesthetics piece of it is so important. But I would say color is a huge portion of that. And
I'll tell you one tougher. I've got 2 clients that are the decision makers. They're both colorblind.
Oh, I am too.
Yeah. Oh.
That's what I tell people.
Thank God.
Anyway.
Yeah. We don't want to.
I mean, I joke about that, but I mean, I legit have 2 of my good clients are legit colorblind. Like they have designers they have to work with, and that's where they pull it in. But they legit are colorblind. I forget it at times because I'll be asking him. He's like, "Really, you asshole? Like, I can't tell what color that is." I was like, "Well, it looks right, right? But you didn't see holidays or anything, so you're good, right?"
Perfect customer.
Yeah, perfect.
You'd be surprised, people that make a profession out of picking color, like designers, you'd be shocked how much math is involved in color.
Yeah.
Every color has a value, what they call RGB, which is most colors are made from red, green, and blue, believe it or not.
RGB.
Yep.
Did you know that?
Those combinations.
RGB.
Yeah.
He said it.
RGBs and the combinations.
Dropping knowledge.
You know,
The Godfather.
so probably sharing a little too much, right? I think I got.
Oh, we're not there yet.
No way.
We're not there yet, Mario. It's only been 20 minutes.
Yeah.
This
I'm only,
isn't over yet?
on my first bourbon, so. But yeah, it's just subjective, right? Color is very subjective, and you know, if you have an idea of what you want, and it's emotional, you know, that's why if you look at our school systems, a lot of times colors picked based on the emotion it draws. You know, they say certain colors are more apt to better learning environments, and you know, these are all things that we're learning. Going, wow,
It's a lot
pretty deep,
to it.
very deep.
And the other thing, you know, it's the cheapest thing to improve something,
Yeah,
but the
it is.
first thing somebody sees.
Yeah.
So it's very, very difficult. Whether it's the application, the color, there's so many things that.
Try the rye this time.
Yeah, let's try that
Yes.
rye. But that's the thing is a lot of people think paint is paint, color is color, but Mario hit it on. It's all emotional. It's all when you're talking about it's the first thing that you see when you walk in anyway.
Yeah.
You know what hits your how you feel about it.
Yeah. It sets the tone. It sets the mood.
100%.
Like, you know, there's so much that goes into that. Let's dive down that a little bit. We'll start this off hot right out the gate.
Woo.
Because that, as you guys know, I mean, I'll get your opinion on this. I'm gonna get murdered online for this. Like, I already know I'm gonna get murdered for this. But how do you guys feel about national contracts? You're a national contract director. I feel like it's stacked against you guys a lot in the industry, and I'll say this, and this is my personal opinion. This is not necessarily their opinion on what I'm about to say, but I have a lot of friends in this industry that are all paint reps guys. Like they represent, I'm gonna say the three biggest, like, cause I deal with three of you guys that, and I like all these guys. Like, you know, I'm not bad talking anybody here, but I mean, I wish I could give all three a fair shake at earning someone's business. That's always my goal. I've always maintained with any of my paint reps, if you give me a lead, I will never invite another painter to bid that for you. That's your client. I'll never break that boundary, and you know, I would expect the same, you know, like to the degree that you guys can, you know, like we all know there's typically in our industry 3 bids on everything. You know, if you're throwing me the game, just know I'm not gonna invite somebody to the party that, you know, when you gave me that lead. But I always get frustrated because, and just being honest, like, there's really 2 of you, in my opinion, that like really dominate the industry. You guys have the big box name, and as amazing as that is, that doesn't help you guys tremendously in our industry. Like, even though you have the biggest box name partnered with you, it doesn't, like, that's not really like an upper hand. Like, it's not like you would think that'd be like an ace you could like pull out your sleeve and be like, bam, though that's distribution. That's, hey, you walk right down the street, you can get this. In our industry, it really doesn't make that much difference. Like, I get so tired of hearing with these guys, like, I have a national contract with so-and-so, and to me, how about you because I'm not saying there's not a difference in paint, but if you put the same spec on it, that it has to be this grade of paint or its equivalent, then you're leveling the playing field. And if you do that, why would you not be more open to who wants your business that bad? Because I see it, because as a GC, I call and get 3 bids too. You know, I mean, I'll call my 3 best painters and say, hey, all 3 of you, I need a bid on this property, XYZ. I would love to be able to give that equal opportunity to my paint suppliers, but I can't 90% of the time because of these national contracts, which is funny because when I am allowed to do it, when the gallon counts line up and they're not far off from each other, the paint spec is the same, we're all bidding the same equivalent of paint when it comes down to the raw nuts and bolts of it, so to speak.
Yep.
There isn't much difference. But I will tell you from my side, these paint bids can vary $5,000. They can vary 20 grand on paint materials alone. And it's the same gallon counts, it's the same thing. It's like, who wants business more? But these national contracts are made on, like, you probably know more about this than I do because that's your forte, so to speak, and that's what you work on. But I imagine the majority of these national contracts are 1% maybe, or maybe, around that, maybe 0.5%. If you're saving 0.5% on a, let's just say, $100,000 paint job, and you did 10 of those in a year, so you spent $1 million in paint, and you're getting back, $5,000, maybe 10 grand in rebates, but I could have saved you 10, 20 grand on every one of those paint jobs. Yeah. Like, where do you think that lies so hard? Why is that pull so hard that owners, as much as they are, and I know this is kind of a long-winded question to get here, but owners are so,
what are you, Bob
especially
Stern?
right now, they're so dollar conscious right now. Like, everything, like lowest bid wins right now in this market.
Right now,
it is cutthroat. Like, lowest bid wins. So why do you think it is that, like, they stick to these national contracts, which really don't matter? I mean, it's like a non-compete, really. Like, it really doesn't hold up to a pile of beans, other than like somebody's getting a check at the end of the year, which really they would have saved 5, 10, 15 times that over the year if they let it be like a real free market on that.
Go ahead, Mario.
Well, I think your last word kind of sums it up. I think I think if most people knew, I think what the idea behind the national contract is really a program, right? The goal is, hey, we want to drive certain compliance and standards. So the idea is right.
Right.
The challenge with the idea, though, is when you don't let free enterprise kind of work its way through the process. If you take people out of the bid process, you kind of end up paying more at the end of the day. I'm a fan of always telling most of our clients, look, you should have more than one option. I think we all learned just last year when we had all these supply chain issues that having multiple options is not a bad idea. And it tends to neutralize pricing because we're bidding it, you're bidding it. Obviously, you have to submit bids against your competitor. If the manufacturer supplier is not submitting a bid against another competitor or a manufacturer, that competition is not there. And sometimes, I think a lot of times that hurts most people more than it helps. The compliance and the programs, they're great. I think what they were originally intended to do, to drive standards. And, we're in a very relationship, business, right? This is not transactional, very relationship based. So I think for us, we're kind of the new kids, right? We're kind of the new kids coming into the industry. Even though we're a 75-year-old company, we've only been in this space for about 10 years, give or take, over 10 years. So coming in as the new competitor, a lot of times, it's just change management. It's making that change and getting folks to see that, hey, we have an option. What is the value? What is the value of having options, right? But you said it. It's all about free enterprise. If competition's not there, how do you neutralize best value? So
how do you guys look at that from a sales tactic? Because both of you deal directly with sales. As I do. So what advice would you give to a salesperson that's trying to like work that space and do that? Because we all know the biggest thing, you just said it, relationship. Really, it comes down to that relationship at the end. But like when you get that kind of kickback, what kind of lessons have you guys learned over your careers of where you try to push, where you pull on that fine line there? Because, I can say all my painters would rather paint with X paint, or this goes faster, the supply is faster. Some of those things don't matter because at the end of the day, majority of it still comes down to the relationship.
You bet.
Either the relationship the contractor has with owner, management, or sometimes it's a lot of times in the paint world, it's strictly driven by the relationship you guys have with the clients. So how do you guys approach that? How do you coach your sales teams or your guys that are under you? I know, Randy, you have several guys that report to you.
Yep.
How do you look at that?
Man, it's tough. Like Mario said, we're the new kids. So you talk about the R word, the relationship word, that's been going on for years.
Yeah.
With our competitor.
Doesn't happen overnight.
So, I remember our first trade show, Mario. We set up and they were like, what the hell are they doing here? And we didn't really talk to a whole lot, and nobody came up to us. We had to, and we're aggressive. We're an aggressive company. We have been. We've been, our culture is, hey, we're going to go take it.
Yeah.
Because we know we're good. That's our culture.
Yeah.
So, knowing what we came into that first year of being at a trade show and man, feeling like the geeky kid in the corner at high school, we were at the lunch table by ourselves.
The mayor has entered the room, just so you guys know. The mayor is now commenting. I knew he was going to tune in at some point.
Bobby D?
Nope. Hi, me.
The
real mayor.
The real mayor. We call Bob Duff the mayor because of his jacket. He's got a couple of nicknames. So Bobby D, I'll give you a shout out. But Jaime, he was on the other side, and we brought him over to what we call the good side. But we got a lot of, we had uphill battle. Mm-hmm. But again, it's about doing the right thing. When you talk about, I love your show, it's common sense, doing the right thing.
Yeah.
That's what we try to do on a daily basis. And once people know that we're in it for you, we're here to help. Nobody rings our register. It goes through the big box. We're here to help.
Yeah.
I used to be one of those guys that I hated saying I was in sales because I felt a little sleazy, right?
Really?
So, sales? Who wants to talk to a salesman? You're fast talking, right? Nobody is going to believe a word you say anyway. But I think when you're a sales guy, when I kind of put it as I help people buy Behr paint through the big box. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Once I get that through my skull and get that out to the customer so they understand the relationship I'm trying to build.
Yeah.
It's sustainability, repeatability, those type things. So going up against these large national accounts is tough. That's what Mario does.
Yeah.
And we've really been doing that for 6-8 years? Yeah. Really.
You've been doing it hardcore for a while.
Yeah, so we're up against it.
Yeah.
No doubt. But we're the scrappy kid in the corner that will fight our way out, but we're fighting our way out with good intentions. Meaning,
so what do you think some of the common sense things of that? Like what drives you nuts about that, but you think that you would think is common sense about that, but it maybe isn't. Maybe it's a lesson you learned that, in going through those battles. Like what do you think
we learned a lot, didn't we, Mario, at the beginning?
I think when you're the new player in a space, right, you have to, I'm not a marketing person, full disclosure, but you got to come up with how are you going to go to market with your product and service, right? If you have other
no matter what you do.
If you have other very mature businesses you're going up against and they have their legacy ways of going to market, you have to find new value. And one of the things we identified early was something as simple as walking the jobs with your partners, your contractors. Give them another set of eyes. We kind of took that as an opportunity going, look, there's a value point here that if we just focus on this, it would help us, because in the very beginning, price point wise, we were kind of at a disadvantage.
Oh, we weren't even close.
And when you look at it 12 years ago or so, there was a huge gap in price point. But once we started understanding the value, especially in your case, it wasn't so much the pricing of the product. It was what kind of value am I going to get? I got somebody walking the job, putting another set of eyes, giving me an idea on what they think it's going to take to do this project so I can narrow in my cost. And we kind of just focused on that. We saw that there was a need for that, and it kind of helped us go to market, with a much better product. And 12 years later, we're competing with that same level quality product now,
We are.
whereas before. So we feel that the industry has upped the quality of the product
Right.
for what you guys do.
So the end
Yeah.
user is winning.
and
that's what we
your
wanted.
customer gets value out of
Yeah.
that because you're giving him an upgrade essentially at no charge.
Yeah. I mean, I remember that from when you guys first started and when you guys first came to my office. I mean, I remember sitting down with you guys, and I remember you guys walking jobs and you guys had these spreadsheets. Like, you would be like to the like elevation, how much paint at what mill needs to go on here. Like, I mean, it was impressive, but like, that was kind of, to me, it put out too much information
Some
for a
people-
while there. You know, like at some point, like that went over a lot of people's heads. But like one thing you talked about of adding value, I've gone to war over this because like I don't ask my estimators to go and figure out how much paint needs to go on a building. And there's been some kickback on that in the industry over the last year, where I have 2 reps that are like, yeah, absolutely, take care of that. I have 1 rep that's like, that ain't my job. That ain't what I do. And I'm like, really? You're selling a product and a service. Like, your product is paint. Your service is I'm going to make sure you have the paint, you have the right tools, you know how to apply it, you're applying it correctly. You're going to be able to, I'm going to be able to stand behind the material warranty that you're giving your customer here, that when they do that. So I think you guys bringing that up and leaning on that, you know, you're the expert in my opinion, you know, like that's why I have a rep. That's why I call you. Like, please have my rep go out and take a look at this. Like, evaluate this for me. What issues are you seeing that my guys aren't seeing? Because they
Right.
are not paint experts. Like, yeah, we understand substrates and everything else and how to do it, but like, you know, I can think of several jobs off the top of my head where it was like one of your reps went out and was like, I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole. Like, like you're putting lipstick on a pig here. And if we're doing that, then like this spec is wrong. Like, don't put they want to put this super high end paint on it to cover it up, but like really that's going to exacerbate the problems that they're having because that paint has too much bite. Like, you need a cheaper, lower grade bite. Like, you guys have educated me so much on this over the years, you and multiple reps. But I mean, like that to me is like where I think you guys really turned a corner in pushing that to the market of showing that without spreadsheeting it to death and going down that road. I think that's been huge. And I think having people like yourself that are going out there and really talking to these higher end individuals in our business, the ownerships, the top of the management companies, and trying to get yourself a fair shake where there is more free enterprise. Like, I'm all for it because, like I said, I always would love. You know, I laugh at some of my clients when they're like, "Well, we got to get 3 bids." Like, do you really realize, like, if you got 3 bids, you're really getting 9,
Right.
because every single one of us that's a GC that bid this
Different.
project, we all called 3 of our best guys to get a number and see who really wanted this work the most, who really wanted to do what. And the even funnier part is, I guarantee if you took all 9 of those bids within the 3 GCs that bid it, 7 of those 9 are the same guys. Like, it really, I mean, like, we all pull from the same pool of guys.
only
like,
so much
there's
talent out
only
there.
so many guys that know how to do X, Y, Z in the construction industry.
Yeah, it's I think it's universal. You get what you pay for, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you get what you pay for, and it's up to the customer, the end user, to understand what are they getting from you, right?
Yeah.
What is the value? We kind of stumbled across this. We were coming into the industry at a perfect time because bids got so competitive that it came down to, like, I'm just going to go with the lowest bid, not just labor but material.
Yeah.
Both of those that meet together, I'm going to go with that. And we started finding out there's a need because some of these owners, even though their exit strategies are pretty short, they were starting to complain that their assets after a year and a half, because we all lived through changes and trends, colors change, right? You start going, when we got in, colors started shifting from earth tones to really vibrant, popping colors.
Crazy colors.
And that called for a need for a product that performed a little better.
Yeah, because a lot of those colors don't perform well in our climate. Like, they don't last long. They don't hold up with those pigments.
So most owners were complaining to us that I'm having to paint this every 3 to 4 years. I want it to last. My exit strategy is 5.5, 7 years. I need something that stays intact for that period of time. And, lucky for us, we're a premium manufacturer, so we just happened to present the right product at the right time. We had to get over that initial price gap, but it's like anything else. When you compare an apple to an orange, you have to find the gap. What's the difference?
Yeah.
What does the higher price product offer me? And when we started reviewing, not to bring up spreadsheets, but where the spreadsheets come in is we started looking at jobs we finished, and we started analyzing, well, you're within the delta of what you were used to bidding with a lower grade product. And when they found that out, they were like, wow, maybe I am saving a little bit more time and I'm giving my client a better product. And it just turned into what we call today that's our value proposition. We're going to give you we're going to give you a better product for the same price. Really is what it comes down to.
That's the breakdown.
And it's universal. You get what you pay for. You pay a little bit more for a product, you should get something more out of that. In our industry, it refers to life cycles of a building, right? The better the product you put on, the longer it should last and protect and beautify your asset, which is an investment property.
It's a huge investment, right?
Where do you guys work on training with your sales guys and stuff on that? I work with my estimators a lot on, really knowing what the client's wanting. What are they truly wanting to do with this property? Are we trying to buy 3 years? Are we trying to buy 5 years? Are we doing this? Because sometimes what they're saying they want is different than what they really want. You know what I mean?
Find that out.
How do you guys coach your guys on that? Because I'm always looking at ways to coach my guys on that. Even teaching guys, because we hire a lot of guys from the insurance side when it comes to estimating, and teaching them the difference between an A property, a B property, and a C property. And that's just the grade or level of property. For those of you that don't know, it's like, this is a C asset. We're more worried about, just maintaining it where it's at. We want to do the minimal amount of repairs that we want. We don't really want to make it a B.
Driving up rents.
We're going to drive up the rents, and we're going to turn and burn this thing. A B property is like in between that. It's all right. We don't want to fix every little thing on here, but we want to take it up another notch. We want to make this a little more appealing, whether that's through amenities or paint or however you want to do it. And then your A property is obviously like your higher end stuff that, like, they're charging the premium rents. They want the best of the best. But how do you teach your guys to navigate, and how do you guys look at navigating that? Because sometimes they might say, I want, an elastomeric on here, or maybe they won't say an elastomeric. Maybe elastomeric is what everything's telling you that property needs because of their plan on holding it and how long they want it to last. But they're wanting a lesser grade price point. Like, so where are you guys how are you guys navigating that?
So I'll start with answering, we got to define. So the client that we typically deal with is a real estate professional, right? They're not a contractor. They're not a paint expert per se. And it goes back to defining that value. One thing I learned really early was they don't really, if you can define quality and how that equates to financial value to them, a lot of times you speak their language, right? These are investment properties at the end of the day. They want a good finished product, whether it's installed or the product itself, but they don't want to pay a whole lot more. Right. Probably the most typical response we get in the industry is, I love your paint. I used it to paint my house, but I won't paint my investment property because you're too expensive.
Yep.
And
absolutely,
when we dig into the financial numbers, right, and I'm just going to throw some vague numbers. Let's say your estimator budgets a job to be material-wise $100 a unit, if you give the client the choice between a little better product or let's say something that may not last as long, they're always going to choose the better product, but they don't want to pay more for it. And a lot of times we just go, well, you shouldn't have to, because when you look at yield, even our competitors, they make really good products, but what we found is they don't always promote those better products because they know it's a harder sell.
Well, they're
Yeah.
being,
They know it's a
they're
harder
being
sell.
asked for something
Yeah.
a little less expensive.
Because the person asking them is a real estate professional, and when they look at our product or category, they look at it as a commodity. How do you buy gas, right? There's people that'll drive 10 miles out of the way to go pay 10 cents less per gas.
Yeah.
You know, so when you buy our product, it's considered a commoditized product, and you almost buy it habitually the same way,
Yep.
unless you know you're getting something else out of the product. And
For the service.
yeah, and it's just educating
Or the
them.
life.
It's getting them to understand that, look, it shouldn't cost you anymore if your contractor installs it correctly. It really shouldn't cost you. You should be able to get a better product for about the same price. Because if you're dealing with a product, right, that's, let's just say $12 a gallon versus 18, the product that's 18 costs more for a reason. It should get you something more out of that product.
Yeah.
Whether it's yield, coverage, whatever it is. And we
It doesn't matter whether it's paint, whether it's a car, whether it's, I mean,
It's
you want to
universal.
talk about common
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
It's universal.
Well, I mean, you can go common sense on that too, because I can show you examples, or I could tell you about an example. Like, this happens all the time on our end. I'm trying to think of how I can do this in paint, but I'm just going to go with like a balcony rebuild. Let's just kind of go there if you can picture that. Like, so I go out and they're like, hey, we just want to like Band-Aid this. And I go, all right, it's been Band-Aided. Like, but right now I can go ahead and I can take care of these things. We can put it back together and it's going to cost you, let's just say 15 grand.
Yep.
Okay.
15 grand right now. And they're like, oh man, we only had 5. We want to do the 5 grand deal right now. And I'm like, okay, I can do that 5 grand Band-Aid. But when this fails and I can't warranty it,
Spend more
it's
money.
going to be about, you might get a year out of it. And
You're
if
gonna
that
do
doesn't
another
fit,
5 grand,
when
another
that
10
doesn't
grand.
fit their time frame, but then they end up, the market changes or something. Now they're holding this asset a little bit longer, or they're stuck with this asset. The asset won't sell, something like that. This is where I say I want to be the fly on the wall in this decision making, and I wish I could get more information out of the client sometimes, because I offered you right now, we can go ahead and fix this, and we can fix it right now for 15 grand. I know you only wanted to spend 5 grand, but a year from now, you're going to have spent 5 grand. That 15 grand number is going to jump to 25 grand. Even if materials and labor does not go up, our overhead doesn't change. Nothing changes other than the amount of damage you're going to sustain by doing this Band-Aid. So now, instead of spending 15 grand right now, you chose to spend 5, but a year from now, you're going to spend 30 grand.
Yeah.
And that's 25 grand to fix what you could have done for 15, and the 5 you already spent. So how in this mix does that as an asset, like I need to get another person from management or ownership on here and
That'd be great.
have
That would
be-
conversation,
yeah, I would love
because
to.
that happens a lot, like across the board. It's like we only have this, but as an owner, wouldn't you rather come out of pocket another 10 grand right now to save 15 in a year? I mean, I know you don't have it budgeted, but you got to have reserves or whatever.
How long are you going to hold the
take care of it.
asset?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and I think that comes down to it.
And it goes back to, you get what you pay for and do it right the first time, right? If they do it right the first
Yeah.
time, they may pay a little bit more, but in the end, they find themselves saving money.
Yeah.
You know, it's like in our industry, probably the best example is metal painting, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they don't want to pay you to do it right.
Yeah.
And metal
No.
paint. So what happens is, instead of they're going, hey, we're only willing to pay $3 or $4 a linear foot to paint our wrought iron metals and handrails, but then they end up incurring those expenses on the maintenance side 2 years later.
Yeah.
Because they didn't pay you the $6-7 a linear foot to do it right,
front.
to scrape it, get it down to the bare
Sand
metal,
it, really
to
get
do it
down
right.
A
there.
lot of
Yeah.
labor there.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
So-
upfront costs, but
Yeah.
what is it?
Especially when multiple coats have been put on something and you get
You're just asking
the
for
wrong coat's been put on a door or a handrail. and then now you've put an oil base on top of a water base or vice versa. Like, those things give me, like, nightmares at night. Like, oh.
Me too.
Yeah, I remember when we finished our remodel at the house, and Sarah's like, can I, like, get some blue tape out and, like, mark all this stuff in? I was like, you just gave me a panic attack. Or you almost sent me to the hospital. Like, do you know what that gives me nightmares? Like, when I know there's a punch about to come up, and, like, you hand a manager a roll of tape, and she goes through it, and now the unit looks like it has chicken pox, and you're like, wow, what just happened?
Yeah. No, it's I love the thing we always go back to you get what you pay for. And what do you want? I think with your initial question, and you really got to dig in as a rep to understand the customer and their needs.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if we communicate that and know, hey, Mr. Owner, management company, we have to communicate what is it that you want, and here's what I can do to increase that time. Or, hey, if you're going to sell it and you need bare bones, all right, we can do that.
Yeah.
So I think that's just about in anything you do.
Yeah.
Really understanding what you want out of it.
I think they're liking the rye.
I think, well, it's just close to Mario. He's left-handed. I don't know. He's
That's what's wrong with me.
Sipping on the rye, and Garrett was hoping to take that home.
So no, I have another bottle of that.
Oh, of course you do.
Of course I do. Well, so for our bourbon and cigars guys so far, what do you guys think about the bourbon? Like, what's your favorite so far? You've had both now. Like, what are you guys thinking about these?
Man, I'm leaning on that rye, man. With
I lean to rye normally.
I know. The very first time I came to your house, remember?
It's like this, it's like, for the listeners, it's like dessert.
I was a Bullet guy. I drank Bullet, and that was what I drank. I came to Garrett's house, and he goes, drink whatever you want. And those of you who don't know, Garrett has a couple of bottles of bourbon at his house.
A few.
Library.
Yeah, so he gave me a rye, and I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
I didn't like it, but it's just like cigars. After a little while, you get to learn what you like.
Your palate changes a little bit. You get to try different things. It really mixes.
Is that something that's just a coming of age thing, do you think? Is it just your palate?
I mean, think about it. When you were a kid, what did you not like to eat?
Yeah,
well,
Brussels sprouts.
I know when I was
What was something like my little brother hated strawberries.
Yeah.
He hated strawberries. And then sometime when he was like 18, I'm not going to say why, but like, all of a sudden now he loves strawberries. Varsity Blues came out, and all of a sudden he's eating strawberries. I'm like, God, I got to hide the strawberries.
Well, it's like beer, right? I mean,
Yeah.
when I was younger, I'd be drinking all these like these light beers, and even the Mexican beers like Corona, and now I can't even drink a Corona. I like my crafty beers. I don't know if it's just a coming of age, or maybe I'm just getting bougie. Maybe I'm just getting bougie. I don't know.
He's bougie.
Definitely. But I mean, your taste buds do change. I mean, like, even with cigars. So like, let's go cigar for you. Like, do you always want to smoke the same type of cigar? Like, there's times like I look at bourbon and cigars as kind of like music for me.
Yeah.
Music, I listen to everything from opera to classical to, hip hop to pop to rock to heavy metal. I mean, I literally listen to everything.
You got a music background,
right? But it's more about what mood am I in.
Okay.
Obviously, like, do you go work out and lift weights listening to like country music?
Something
about
fast,
something ran over your dog?
No.
I'm listening to Chevelle or Five Finger Death Punch or your Bad Omens or something like that.
Shinedown, yes.
Yeah, I'm getting the juices flowing, man. I want to be pumped up. I don't.
Pantera.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're trying to do that. Cigars and bourbon are the same way for me. Like, I don't always want a bourbon that's gonna like roast my ass.
Yeah.
Sometimes I want something, as much as this word is faux pas, I want something smooth. Maybe I want something that's gonna be a little lighter on my palate. Maybe I'm going out for Italian or Mexican, or I'm having a steak. That changes what I want to drink or smoke, for that matter.
No doubt.
I don't want to go out and have a steak dinner, have a nice night drinking with the wife, have some steak, come home. I'm not grabbing the boldest cigar I have. I'm probably going to pick something a little creamier, a little lighter,
Dessert.
just because more dessertish.
Yeah.
But if I went out and had Italian food and I drank wine with my wife, maybe I want a little bolder cigar to finish it off. Like, so I think it changes with the experience and where you're at. Like, and also like I can sit and like really get into a cigar and I'll smoke that for a while. But then I need a break. Like, I want to smoke something different. You know, I want to curate that experience a little bit more. And I think that's part of the journey.
Yeah.
It is a journey, and I'm just learning that. I mean, I really haven't smoked. I chewed on cigars. I was playing poker. I remember there was one time where I was playing poker with my buddies, and I think it was my birthday. I was much younger than I am now.
Your birthday parties are legit.
Well, only one. So, but you know, you learn what you like, what you don't like. I think that's life.
Yeah.
Right? I think you try things.
Yeah.
And things change. It's not as easy when it comes to industry stuff. People don't like change.
Right.
Not at all.
You know, most people don't like change. Like I said, when I started, I drank Bullet forever. And I went to your house, and I drank a couple of things. I was like, man, there's some really good bourbons I don't know anything about.
Well, that kind of goes to, well, let's talk about Bullet for a minute, because that's an interesting segment there, too. Bullet was sourcing their bourbon from a lot of major players.
Yeah.
So early on, when you're getting some of these, like, Bullet hadn't been around for 10, 12 years. Bullet was relatively new when you started drinking Bullet.
Yeah.
Right? So 2019-ish.
Yeah.
Bullet wasn't that old.
Yeah.
But they're putting out 10, 12-year-old bourbons, 15-year-old. How do you do that? Well, they're sourcing it. So they're getting stuff that was aging from a top guy. They were non-distiller producing. They were bringing that in. So you might have got, like, there was, I mean, Four Roses with somebody they bought barrels for. So you're getting 10, 12-year-old Four Roses barrels that they're blending and selling to you as Bullet.
Yeah.
Now what happened was, and why people started slamming it, was as they continued to age the stuff that they were producing
was better.
And that started hitting out the market. No, it necessarily wasn't, because you weren't getting 10, 12-year-old Four Roses.
Okay, yeah.
You're getting a 4-year-old, which is bourbon that they distilled.
Okay.
That now all of a sudden, like, the profile's a little different. You're like, wait, whoa, this is the same bottle I've been buying. I mean, it's exactly the same.
Right.
Oh, but the age statement's a little bit, or it doesn't have an age statement.
Sure.
Now that stuff's changing the game a little bit. So that's where, and you know, you were at a unique point in your bourbon journey when you came over and started hanging out with me a little bit more, where I didn't chase the big allocated stuff. I was really trying to find craft distillers that were doing something really unique. So, you know, still to this day, that's something I do more of. That, like, I want people to try people that are trying to do unique, fun things with that. Like, enjoy spirits. I mean, I've not drank a lot of bourbon in the last 8 months. I've drank more tequila in the last 8 months than I have bourbon. But my palate kind of changed, you know, like, and I found a way where I found tequilas I like. I've even had gin drinks now, like that. It's summertime, it's hot out, it's a little more refreshing.
Yeah.
I would have told you I hated gin, like, but I went down that journey and had a lot of friends that are like craft drink makers, really craft distillers and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, well, what is it you didn't like about that gin? And as you start to learn more, it's like, well, I didn't like the botanical, I didn't like the real floral parts of it. Oh, so you don't like juniper-based gin? Okay, yeah, you're right, I don't. Just like I hated Scotch forever. Well, I didn't really hate Scotch. What I didn't like was the heavily peated Scotches.
Right.
It was too earthy for me. But until I had that vocabulary, which translates to sales and everything else like that, like, once you have that vocabulary, you're able to go on that journey and do a little more. Hopefully without, like, spending the amount of money I spent on bourbon, you know, like, you know, you can figure these. I don't want to know. No, we don't want to know.
But
neither does Sarah.
You mentioned tequila, right? I mean, you start talking about the differentiation between, you know, top shelf versus bottom shelf tequilas.
Yeah.
It's a night and day different experience.
Or Anejo, Blanco,
and how you drink
Reposado.
it.
And now it's like, wow, okay, I've been drinking the crappy stuff, right?
Yeah.
You start drinking the finer stuff, you kind of goes back to you get what you pay for, right?
Well, you also learn that there's additives.
Finer things.
You learn about additives, and like a lot of tequila has additives. They got
Absolutely.
sugar and
Cigars, same
agave.
way.
Cigars,
Same way.
you flavor my cigar or put some shit in my cigar, I am out. Like, do not do that. Like, to me, like there's a Byron that's out that like when you open up the box, it literally smells like blueberries.
Oh no!
It almost turned me off at first. Like I was like, I'm not smoking that. They really Nelson Alfonso flavored a cigar. Like no, but in its maturation process, it put off this blueberry smell. When you smoked it, it wasn't like you tasted like you were
tasting the
smoking
blueberry.
blueberries. But the box, when you open it up, it would smell like that. That'll throw people off. And like as you're going on journeys, you need other people that know more about whatever it is. Surrounding yourself with people that have some knowledge or like being open to that will change that for you. Like I stayed away from tequila for a long time because when I was younger, it was always shooting tequila.
Sure.
If I shoot a couple shots of tequila after drinking some bourbon, no, I want to fight everybody in the room. Like, you're looking at my wife wrong.
Yeah,
we
you're
all
looking at
do.
me
Yeah, we all
wrong.
do.
Like,
We all
of a sudden,
do.
I'm Conor McGregor all of a sudden in the bar. Like, you know, like, it's stupid. But then when I, like, met some people that, like, started teaching me about tequila, I was like, oh, if I just sipped it, eat an orange with this. Like, it brings
We
out
did
different
that.
flavors.
We did
like,
that in Mexico,
you
yeah.
start learning things
Yeah.
and, like, you realize, like, no, it's either how I was doing it or it was my lack of knowledge on what I was doing.
Definitely the latter.
That affected it. And usually it's the lack of knowledge
I
part.
think that comes to everything when you're talking about common sense. What is common sense? It's
Yeah.
about life experiences.
Absolutely.
How many have you had? You might have a little more common sense with the more life experience that you have.
Yeah.
So,
Experiences teach you lessons so that you don't have to make those mistakes again, and hopefully you learn from those lessons.
yeah,
Absolutely.
you learn what you like. When you talked about, your brother didn't like strawberries. Maybe he liked it because of the movie, right? But we've all
I think it had to do with the chick that was like,
Well,
here's some
that's a
strawberries
great
and whipped
movie.
cream.
Did he
but
dip it in chocolate?
I mean, that's an image that sticks in everybody's mind,
Right.
right? I mean, especially as a 15-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Like, I like some strawberries and some cream.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. But,
Yeah.
it's, life experiences teaches you things and what you want to learn from it. I think that's, it's everything. So you taught me a little bit more about bourbon.
Yeah.
I knew I liked it, but I didn't know what I liked, really.
I
thought
taught him too much because he learned it was a weakness, and that's how he beats me in golf the majority of the time.
Well, that's another story. That's another story, but
But I can't get him talking to himself in the third person. Like, I can't
that's
do
a
that.
problem.
That's always good when you get that.
Hey.
If he starts talking to himself in the third person,
it's over.
you know you are all up in that Randy Rivers head,
Did you see
and
Randy
you are
on-
whooping his ass in some golf. And then I can tell you what happens next is fireball shots and shit like that starts flowing.
and then what
And
happens?
then the game turns.
Because who gets better after all that stuff?
Oh man,
Yeah,
it's
Randy Rivers.
ridiculous. It's ridiculous. This dude can
just
like
did
be
it.
sucking at golf. He can be 10 strokes
Come on,
behind,
Rivers.
and all of a sudden you put some fireball in the equation.
And I don't
now-
like Fireball, but you, a couple
don't
others
put
that
that.
I know
So you-
in the industry say, "Hey, we got to do these." I'm like, "Oh, I
So
don't
the
know."
strategy is to
Step
give him.
up.
Yeah.
That's your strategy.
It
Right?
was until
Get
he figured it
but
out.
It had an adverse effect on
Yeah.
on the
Oh,
game. Swing
I was like, I
juice.
got a 10
Little
stroke
swing
lead.
juice
I'm
there.
gonna smoke. Yeah, I'll pound your fireball with you.
Yeah,
Like, we can do
that's
this.
fine. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And then it turns into
Loosens
that
you
cutter.
up. It loosens
Uh-oh.
you up.
Pass me the cutter.
he needs. You've already gone through the.
Yeah.
What'd you think of that first cigar?
It is really good. I see why the guys say that one in particular is better. I know it has, and I'm going to mess this up, like, it's early 2000s tobacco, so it's got like 4 years older tobacco than the one I smoked previously.
Okay.
Huge difference. Like, it's super smooth. It burned really, really well. I mean, I smoked it as far as I could without like burning my fingers. Like
Your roach clip.
You were on
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Easy, Mario.
yeah.
I know.
I don't know what kind of show this is.
Oh man,
What kind
yeah.
of show you trying to make this, Mario?
Well, speaking of cigars,
This isn't the Hot Box podcast.
Yeah, you said so. Early 2000s, that would make it a 20-year.
There's some of they said 2006 is a number I heard. 2010 is a number I heard. So it's got some older tobacco in it. Like, and that was the first roll they did apparently on that particular one. There's 3 of them that came out. 2 Lanceros that aren't much. One's just a little bit thicker in diameter. That's the thinnest. It's the oldest. I'm butchering it because I don't have the notes on it. It's the first time I've smoked it. So,
Can't wait to smoke.
well, what do you guys think of the Alfonso?
It's really good.
It's got a good pull, great flavor.
Yeah.
Great flavor. Nice draw. I didn't smoke it in 10 minutes like you anticipated.
You can put down a cigar, man. Like, it's really impressive how you can, like,
Well, I'm what
mow
you,
down a cigar.
I'm
so
what
to
you
speak.
call a doer.
Yeah.
So once I start something, I want to finish it. That's
So
what I got, man. In everything
Yeah.
that I do, if you give me a task, I'm on it. And if something gets in my way, I get mad if I don't get to finish it
Yeah.
on my time.
could be a 4-cigar
Right,
night
right.
for Randy, for
Could
Mr.
be.
Rivers.
Could be.
What is it?
A 4-cigar night for you.
No.
You keep that doer
Oh my
attitude
gosh!
up.
I'll have to sit here for an hour after the show just to.
Tosh is gonna make him strip in the
Yeah.
garage.
Oh,
and
she's
shower.
she's already
Yeah.
said. She said it's going to be a late night. You're going to smoke cigars. Let me put your pillow on the couch because don't wake me up.
snoring.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, snoring one because of bourbon.
Yeah.
Smelling like a stinky cigar. Don't come in my bed smelling like that.
Yeah.
Don't wake me up taking a shower. You
Yeah.
know, we all have rules, right?
Yeah,
and I know
absolutely.
I don't want to do that. I don't
No.
want to be in the doghouse.
No.
But you know, you have to ask permission. You know, hey, this is once in a. Hey, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Absolutely.
We've been talking about it for a while. Mario's schedule's too crazy.
Mario's schedule's insane, man. I don't know how you do it, man.
He's a machine.
I usually
My wife would lose her mind if I traveled as much
The
as
luxury
you.
of travel, though, is you get to visit all these cigar bars, right?
Don't rub it in right now.
You have
That's
the,
what you're doing.
Do you have the where to smoke?
This is a
cigar
pretty
at?
nice one, though, right,
Where
Mario?
to, where to smoke at cigar wherever you are in the country. You pull this app up and it'll tell you the nearest cigar bar.
You're gonna have to share that with me, and like, if you got a good one in Cabo, I want to know because I'm going to Cabo at the end of the month for my 10-year anniversary. So, you got a good one, I want to know.
I'm sure you can pull
So
one.
how do you feel about Cubans? Tell me your thoughts on Cubans. Because, you know, I have a very interesting, for the longest time, somebody would give me a Cuban, and until I think I smoked a real Cuban, I could tell the difference.
Okay. So my experience with cigars and Cubans has been this so far. Cubans are good. There's really old ones. Like you can go in there, like here at Industrial, they have pre-embargo Cubans. I mean, they're super expensive. They're old. They're really. I mean, like, and I've smoked a couple of them. Like, they're good. I think Cubans get played out right now because from what I know, the research I've done and what I've been told by people that know way more about cigars than me. So the Russians, when the U.S. did the embargo on Cuba, the Russians used to dump a lot of money into Cuba.
Of course.
To help them with their farming, nutrients in the ground, stuff like that. Well, over the last decade or so, they haven't been pouring as much money into Cuba. So the amount of stuff that's getting pulled and used in those grounds, like, you know, it's just like re-fertilizing, putting those nutrients back in the ground. That tobacco's not the same. Like, so I think old Cuban cigars are probably phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, the ones I've smoked have all been great. Like, can't say anything bad about them. But I don't think it's like the end-all, be-all. It's kind of like Nike Reebok, you know, back in the day. Like, is it better? Like, is it the profile you prefer? Like, there's so many people doing things with cigars that, and from different origins, different rainforests, different this and that, where they're getting their tobacco and different fermenting processes and stuff like that. That I think I'm spoiled because here at Industrial, their humidor is so curated. I mean, yeah, there's a couple bad cigars in their humidor, and it's stuff that they have to put out there, and it's in there. Like most people know what that is. I'm not going to talk bad about anybody's cigars, but 9 out of 10 things in there are really good. Like it may not be your cup of tea. You might buy it and smoke it and go like, it's just okay, or nah, that didn't really do it for me. But like the other one, you're like, wow, this really did it for me. Like I really like this. Like the majority of you are going to find it doing that. And if you can express what it is about a cigar you like, I guarantee you they're going to turn you on to things that you'll like. Like if you can put some words to what it is that you like, they can take you down that road. So I think Cubans are kind of overrated. Like people are paying like, and right now Cubans are going insane on the like market. And so like Cohibas, the B hike went from being like a $200 cigar to like $500, $600 cigar for one cigar.
No.
Like I'm sorry,
No.
This Nelson Alfonso, this will smoke most Cubans any day of the week. Like this is a premium cigar. Like you're not getting, you go with a Byron, a Luciano, like there's just so many that are really good. The Grand Habanos are putting out stuff. Patoro. I mean, like these guys are putting out German engineered even.
Yeah.
These guys are putting out top-notch cigars. And now that I've named several of them, the faux pas with Cuban tobacco and getting around that, like these guys are moving tobacco around from country to country and buying it, and maybe you can buy in Spain Cuban tobacco and you're buying a Nicaraguan leaf,
right,
and then you're blending it with other tobacco you had.
So it's
but
not
because
a
you come
Cuban.
there, they're not going to sit there and say it's Cuban. They're going to tell you that it's got Cuban tobacco in it. No, because if they did that, you now couldn't sell that tobacco in the U.S.
Yep.
So if you talk to people in the know, you'll find out that there's a lot of tobacco that is Cuban-based in cigars that you're smoking.
Yep.
But most of the time, you don't even know that.
Right.
You're more, is it a good smoke? Does it burn good?
Right.
Yeah. Is it?
That's even burn.
Is it smooth?
Yeah, smooth.
Is it hitting my flavor profile?
That's all I know. I don't know much.
Yeah, I think it comes down to how they process, age the leaf, where it's aged. There is truth about where the leaf ages and how it ages. Something about being near the equator. There's something to be said about that.
Nelson does his for the most enormous amount of time. I don't even want to say. Do you know, Biz? Like, I'm gonna mess up. Like 10 years, his stuff. It's something crazy
something
like that.
And they have their own. Each blend has its own individual aging room.
Like cedar room, like type.
The wood is specially blended for each cigar.
Yeah.
Wow.
Every cigar
Yeah.
has its own place and ages for like
Its own wood.
for its own ammonia and stuff that changes and makes the one smell like blueberries, whatever. Like that's in its own room. Like
And somebody likes that.
yeah,
It
no,
doesn't
I'm telling you,
matter. Yeah.
that cigar is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It turned me off right at first because somebody gave me an acid cigar. I'll say this, I don't care, an acid cigar, and I was like, this is shit. And it's one of the number one cigars sold to military guys. Military guys love it. It's got a sugary wrapper. They put some sugar in it and stuff
I've
like
smoked
that.
one.
Like it was not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
Some of them are flavored, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't. If I want flavor, I want it in my Mio for my water. Like I don't want to smoke a cigar that tastes like strawberry kiwi or whatever, something crazy. That one just turned me off because someone was telling me about it, and they're like, "Hey, check this out." They opened the box, like a brand new box that they're putting out on the shelf, and was like, "Smell this." And like when they did that, man, it's blueberry muffins. Like it's what you smell immediately. And I was like, I don't want to smoke a cigar that tastes like blueberries. Like I'm out on that. And then I finally smoked one. Someone gave me one. Like, no, smoke this. You'll thank me later. Absolutely, didn't taste like blueberries.
Right.
And even when he handed me it, outside of the box, it didn't smell like blueberries.
Right.
But when you open that fresh box, it smells like blueberries. No bullshit. Like, I thought they were messing with me at first, but like, yeah, it's legit. What do you think about Cubans? Like, what's your experience been?
Similar. The problem with me is I've smoked a lot of fake Cubans, and that, like you said, man, you can smoke a $10, $12 cigar, any wrapper, it tastes just the same. But when you really smoke a puro, like a real, and it doesn't have to be Cuban, it just has to be the process of how it's aged, where it's aged, how long it's aged. I think you'll appreciate that cigar, the draw, the smoke. I remember one of the first times I bought a $60 cigar. I was in Scottsdale, Arizona, and it was a really just small cigar shop. He rolled a lot of his own cigars, and he had kind of tried to tell me, hey, the aging process, right? Every year it ages. He tried to equate it to monetarily. He's like, it's about $1 per year aged cigar.
Yeah.
So if you're
smoking, that's not far off.
Yeah, if you're smoking a 50, 60 year, aged cigar, you're going to pay $50, $60.
Yeah.
And you're going to, I just notice the peppery, a lot of the, the stuff that hits your palate, it's not necessarily there. When you're smoking a puro, you're just like, wow, I smoke a full cigar, with this diameter, probably even twice the size, and you walk away going, I didn't feel like I smoked a cigar.
Yeah, so, there's a lot of that in the industry. Like Cohiba, like I brought one back from the last time I was in Cabo, and I'm telling you, like Cohiba is the one that gets, I think, counterfeited the most.
Of course.
Yeah.
And these guys,
it's
like the
Everybody
bands that they
knows
put on these cigars, and don't get me wrong, this Cohiba band, I knew it wasn't a bee hike. The guy was selling them as bee hikes. He wanted $60 for it. So all right, you got me. Like, it's close enough. I was analyzing everything, how it lined up on the wrappers. I brought it back and showed the guys here, and I was like, what do you guys think? They're like, that's the best damn fake I've ever seen so far. All right, after several minutes of really analyzing it, they're like, all right, that's the only little thing, see this right here, that's off. And it was literally that line where it meets is not perfectly vertical. It's a little bit off this way, so you can tell they overlapped it a little bit when they did it. But otherwise, they perfectly mimicked it.
Yeah.
And again, I wasn't mad. It was still a really good cigar.
Yeah.
Now, if this guy had tried to charge me $300-$400 for a bee hike, I was like, eh. And you can ask him, show me a box you have that's unopened. Right then and there it is. You're going there with most of them are fake. Yep. It's an open box. They've bought the box and they're just sitting in there, and they don't have anything else. They'll tell, oh, that's all I have. That's all that's left.
Yeah.
Right.
You can tell that pretty quickly when you're traveling. It's just stuff I've learned recently. But you're right too on the age thing. Bourbon's like that. So an 18-year-old bourbon, you should expect to pay about $180 for that.
Yeah.
It's almost like $10 for every year aged. Different bottles are going to go up from there. But a baseline rule that people should look at is you should be paying about $10 for every year of age.
That's good. I like that.
A 10-year bottle should cost you about $100.
$100. Yep.
And that's fair. You think about it, that's where a lot of stuff's ran out. People got on this big bourbon hike when the beer craze ended, and a lot of that's where it went because everybody wanted something that was 12, 15, 18 years old.
Didn't want to pay it.
When you really look at it, the bourbons that are really, really good, that are older, Scotch is a whole different thing. Yep. But bourbon, Pappy Van Winkle, everybody knows Pappy.
Yeah.
Right.
You got a 23-year-old, a 15, a 12, a 10. There's not many people that can make a really good bourbon that's over 15 years old. Because you think about it, after 15 years, the angel share is very high. Mm-hmm. They're having to add water and, to get any type of,
amount,
barrel quantity out of it. So it's being watered down. What is in there is super oaky because it's been in an oak barrel for 15 20
plus,
years. That's not my thing. I find that most of what I prefer, if I want something older, it's gonna be that 12 to 15 year range. Like that's a sweet spot. 107 proof to about 121 proof is a sweet spot for me as well. I'm not a person that likes super hot. I mean, if it's
That's
hotter,
that's hot to a lot of people,
if it
though.
drinks, yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
people are 80 proof,
80,
100 proof,
80, 90.
107. You know,
That's where my
antique
palate
107.
changed after the bullet. I enjoyed a little hotter, a little more proof. I didn't drink as much. Now I'm drinking it neat. You told me. I didn't mix it with Coke. I did back in college.
We all did. And the hangovers were way worse. 'cause
Way
you got all
worse.
that
Too much sugar. Yeah.
But like, I tell all the same way when you came over to my house. I said the same thing. Like, I'm not telling you have to drink it neat. I'm telling you to try it neat
Yep.
before you decide what you want to do with it.
Yep.
If you want one ice cube, several ice cubes, or you want to put a little splash of water in it, whatever. Just try it neat before you dive in and decide what you want to do. I mean, it could be one sip. Just know that way you experience the full flavor. You know what it is you like or don't like about it. You can go somewhere from there. You have a ground zero
ground zero.
to go
Yep.
from.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, yeah. It's been an experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Through, like you said, it was probably 2019. I drank beer before then, and then I couldn't drink beer like I
Yeah.
could drink beer before. you
Yeah,
know?
your stomach changes when
Oh
you get
my
older.
gosh, yeah. You drink more than 4 beers,
Grandpa.
it's like, oh yeah, here it is. But unless I'm in the pool and I have a light beer and
Water changes the game for me. If I'm in water, you can give me whatever beer and I can drink. I drink beer all day long.
All day.
Take me out of the water, I don't want to drink beer.
No.
I don't feel like I ate a 72-ounce steak.
yeah, I'm not. And my friends, then my wife, they're like, Rivers, we never see you eat. I'm like, I can't. If I'm drinking beer, I cannot because I'm full.
Yeah.
I'm completely full.
Yeah.
Maybe at the end of the night, but
Changes things.
it does change things. So, again, it's about life experiences and what you
Yeah.
know, and what you like.
So what are some common sense things that drive you guys nuts? Like what are some things that people think is common sense that like you're like, nah, you got this all wrong, or like just drives you guys crazy? Like,
Oh, man. I tell you, I just got back from a trip, Southwest Colorado. So it was a long drive with the fam.
yeah, 2 kids,
2
wife.
kids, wife, I'm in the grocery getter that gets it.
Yeah.
I drive a truck that doesn't go very fast. But, it just amazes me. Highway. God, how much it used to drive me crazy. Still does. If you ask Tasha, did I get upset on the way home? Sure I did. Why is this asshole in the left lane going 67 into 65? Move over. These are common sense things.
Merging. Why does nobody in Texas know how to merge?
We don't know how to do the zipper.
I mean, it is mind blowing.
Yeah.
I mean, because
that a
as a
Texas
kid,
thing,
I got
or
my
is that-
license.
I think it's a Texas thing because not everybody's from Texas anymore.
Yeah, but like I got my license in Connecticut. 16, I took my driving test in a northeastern blizzard in a 6-speed Camaro. And then I've driven in New York. I've driven in DC. And people talk about New York like it's the craziest thing in the world. No, they just like to use their horn, but they let you know where they're at.
Well-
they're there. And you know what? I can respect that.
Yeah.
But I moved to Texas, and I remember the first thing when I got here was like, oh, it's the speed limit is the flow of traffic. That was bullshit. I got my first speeding ticket real fast. That was a lie. I was like, well, I was going with the flow of traffic.
Nah.
And he's like, nah, son, that's not how this works. But people don't know how to merge. I'm like, is this not taught in driver's ed in Texas? Because people don't merge. We would all get there faster if we could be a little more courteous on
Yeah,
the road.
nobody's
But
courteous.
is it a age thing, you think? I mean, is there things that change the older you get? You're not so much in
you
a
grew
hurry.
up driving in California. What do you think?
I'm always in a hurry, Mario. We already had this
I am
discussion.
too. Look,
Yeah.
I get a little.
We got
road,
places
I
to
get a
go.
lot of road rage every now and then, and it's just because I'm either behind someone in the left lane. They don't understand that that's a passing lane.
Yeah.
Right. You get in there, you pass. Somebody's just cruising along, and then typically when you pass them up, it's somebody that you're elder.
They're living in their own world.
I'll call out one of my brother's friends from high school, Stephen Ball.
Oh,
if you're watching
Stephen
this,
Ball, you're
I'm
taking
calling you
shrapnel
out
right now.
This dude literally will get on a major highway and he will drive the speed limit in the fast lane, and people will be honking on him. He's like, "It's my right. I'm abiding by the law. Like, I am driving the speed limit. Get off my ass." And I'm like, "No, you're wrong. Why do you think there's a passing lane? Like, can Oklahoma be the only state that says the left lane is for passing and we'll write you a ticket if you're not and you're just cruising in the fast lane?"
Oklahoma's got it right.
I mean, for
Boomer
real,
Center, you know
right?
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you. One thing we definitely agree on.
There is no doubt.
What happened if there was like no speed limit? What would be the case?
I think people
some
would.
of these highways up in Montana and all that,
Autobahn.
right? I mean, you
I haven't got
don't,
to
you don't
drive on
see
it.
people getting into car accidents up there.
Oh.
Yeah, the dumbass that still does what dumbasses do, but like the majority, like, I mean, we could take this to like legalizing drugs. Like, go to the states
that's
that
a good
have
topic.
legalized drugs. Like,
We were just there.
I mean, like, do you have to do that? Like, does it really make everybody a drug addict because it's legal?
No.
No, like, have some common sense. Like, there's so many things like that you could just go down the road about, like, but the majority can't have common sense.
They can't handle it. Well, they don't have any life experience. One, I think that's a lot to do with it. I really do.
Yeah.
I really do. I think that,
Absolutely.
I don't know, it seems like I'm an old soul from the time I'm little to think about my surroundings. I think that's a lot of, when you talk about common sense, I think I put that on you a month or so ago of like, your show's common sense, and I know it's cents like dollars when we talked about that.
Yeah.
You get what you pay for.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about common sense, it's about just what's around you. Most
Yeah.
people are selfish. Really, when it
Yeah.
comes down to it, they're living their own world.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, it's me. I don't care about you.
Yeah.
You know, and what
So,
you.
so do you think there's less common sense today because of a generational shift, or do you think we had more common sense when we grew up, or do you think there's less of that?
Absolutely. I think a lot of people want to think they have common sense.
I think so, because I had a conversation with one of my coworkers today about this. And mind you, you guys both have kids. I don't have kids. But we were talking about, remember when you were like 10 or 12 years old, you're, a third, fourth grade boy going through puberty. You would sneak out of if your parents were super strict, you'd go stay the night at your friend's house, whoever's house you could get out of the easiest, and you're running the neighborhood. You guys are playing
Absolutely.
flashlight tag. You're running the
being a
neighborhood.
kid.
You're being a kid.
Yeah.
We
don't do that.
You may have set out. You may have gone over to see some girl that had her window open, so you're
sneaky.
sitting outside her window talking to you, and like you're trying to mac on this girl and like impress her, like, yeah, I'm out of the house, whatever, You can't do that today.
No.
If you got caught doing that, you would be in jail as a sex offender.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, like, legit, like a
Peeping
12-year-old
Tom.
boy.
Yeah.
You'd be a peeping Tom. You'd be something like, just because you were sitting out there talking to your little girlfriend that you wrote notes to in
Pretty
third
innocent.
grade. Like,
Innocent.
Innocent. Like,
Innocent fun.
And I'm not saying everybody is, but I'm just saying the majority, that's what's growing up in the 80s and 90s was. Like, you did those kind of things. You ran around the neighborhood with your friends. You couldn't go through two neighborhoods in North Dallas and not get picked up by a cop or somebody reporting you or a Ring doorbell catching you.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't go door knocking. You can't do any of the things. You egg somebody's house, toilet paper somebody's house, like all
It
the
happens
things we did as
occasionally.
kids. Right, but
We live in a small town.
But now
it's
it's
still
considered
very
like
minor.
Yeah, now,
Sure.
But if
But
kids
you
are doing
can't
that now,
do
it's
those
like
things. Same
criminal.
thing
It's like
when I was
it wasn't criminal when we were growing up. It was just
No, you would. somebody might call your mom and say, hey, did you know your boy was out and he forked my
son
yard?
Was over here.
Yeah, hey, he was talking to my daughter through her window.
At 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I didn't know he told me he spent the night at so-and-so's house.
Mm-hmm.
I got busted that way. But
right.
My mom knew it was innocent. I wasn't doing anything
right. You weren't doing
outlandish.
anything bad.
No.
But like same thing with like a 10 or 12-year-old boy that's out running around in his neighborhood.
Oh, I don't want a 10 or 12-year-old boy running around my neighborhood.
I'm sure you don't. I'm still waiting till you hit junior high.
You were that boy back in the day.
Boy, and my kids know that.
It's gonna be bad boys. I'm gonna be over there in a wife beater, hanging out with Randy when the boys come knocking when they hit junior high over there.
They're in junior high and high school.
Oh,
and I got
man.
2 girls, and when I look back at the things I did, I have these conversations with the girls. My wife says, and it's funny, my daughter asked my wife about questions about, what dad did, and it's like, why are you with him? Because we're trying to instill
They're
other
so
things.
bold.
Oh my God, we speak about everything. Even when my boys were growing up, we'd have spaghetti dinner, and that's when they knew when we made spaghetti, it was no holds barred conversation.
But I don't know about you guys. Your brothers, sisters?
No.
I got 6 other brothers.
Okay,
Woo!
so you know what it's like. Then are you the youngest, oldest,
I'm
middle?
somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Forgotten about.
But when you were a kid, like I remember, like both of my parents worked. My job in the summer was, hey, here's $10.
Right.
Watch your brother today. There's the food in the fridge. Make him some macaroni and cheese. Go to the pool in the park.
Yep.
Buy your brother some lunch.
Yep.
Take care of him. We'll be home. If you did that with your 10 or 12-year-old today, you'd have CPS called on you. You'd be in jail. It's like you locked your baby or dog in the car and it's 107 out. Like, you can't do that. So back to our original question there almost, like, yes, I don't think there's as much common sense today because these kids haven't been forced to grow up because they weren't given any of these responsibilities
100%.
growing up. When they earn that trust or respect from their parents, they're not given that in today's world because their parents would go to jail if they did that. So these kids sit around and play video games, stay on their phone, whatever. They have babysitters. They have no sense of responsibility or ownership in things. Like everything's handed to them. Everything's taken care of. They don't have those things because we don't operate in a world where that's still the norm.
And what happens when those kids grow up?
We're seeing it right now.
That's right.
Cancel culture,
Yeah.
all this bullshit that we get to watch.
They want to be CEO when they put in a year's worth of work.
Yeah. Well,
They don't even want dads. That's the other scary thing. Are you guys seeing this with your painters and stuff? Like, I talked about this with one of the custom home builders here. What about all these high-end trade carpenters, like high-end framers, high-end trim guys, high-end drywall guys that can do like level 5 finishes, high-end painters?
Where are they at?
I was saying that doesn't exist here.
When their dads retire and it's no more, which a lot of them are getting to that age, where's the next group coming from? Because we're not teaching kids these trades, nor do they want to know these trades. Yeah, they want dad's lifestyle and money.
Well, you bet.
They want to own the business, but they don't want to actually do any of the work. And what makes those guys good is they all know how to do that work.
Yep.
They've trained every one of those guys coming up on how to clean their spray rig, how to paint this, how to do this high-end faux finish, how to do XYZ, how to cut these angles, how to finish this drywall at this level. They've been taught that for years as like apprentices. That's not in existence anymore. Mm-hmm. So where are we going to be in another 5, 10 years?
We're going to be in a world of hurt.
When those guys retire, because who's going to do that high-end work? Yeah. Everybody's going to be doing what we call turn-level work. But when you live in University Park or something and you want that high-end cabinet custom guy, where are you going to get him from? Because nobody's training those guys anymore.
No.
Well, I think that's the biggest thing we're facing right now is the trades, right? The people working with their hands. That's diminishing. It's diminishing. That's why we have to turn to folks that are willing to do the work, and they may be getting trained, the proper training, but most of them are not. They're just figuring it out on their own.
Or they don't have a desire to. They just want to run the business.
They want to run the business. They want to
just-
make the money. They want to have the lifestyle. They want to buy
It's
fine
been
cigars.
provided
And,
for them all that time. Like,
yeah.
So did we fail as Gen X? Did we
Oh
fail
man,
our millennials?
growing up, and Tasha can tell you, I'm not very good with my hands, but I'm good with other things.
Yeah.
So again, it's.
But you
what do
didn't
you
come
know?
from a family like that. Like your family wasn't trying to teach you to.
My family worked.
Yeah.
Right.
Like what you spoke about. They
But-
worked all day. They worked hard. They gave me $5, wrote us a note, and said, "Good luck for the day."
But even if you look at somebody like, my generation. My generation. Like I have a good friend here that's a home builder here in our generation. His dad started the custom private home building, right? His dad started out building these homes with his own hands, and he built up to this huge custom home builder, right?
Right.
Well, when son comes in, does son start off as the framer?
No.
No.
Yeah.
The son's starting off as
the project
manager. And he doesn't even know how that wall's supposed to be framed.
Yeah. He just knows if you're
So
working or if
instead of making them come up the way that they did, the majority, I'm not saying this is all of them, but the majority of them, they didn't have to go through the same rigors that dad did.
Yep.
And I think a lot of parents have failed their kid because they just wanted to provide them something better, that they didn't make them learn the essentials to be able to do that. And now you've got a whole nother generation. They're taking over these companies. Well, who's doing the worker? And our immigration policy is shit. So the guys that actually want to do the stuff that, in my opinion, most white people do not want to fucking do, they don't want to do it, but we don't want to let the guys in from Mexico right now that actually want to do it. We're not making it easy for them to get their citizenship and to be able to do this stuff. And these guys have been doing it with their dad, their granddad for decades.
Yep.
But here in America, we haven't been doing that. We gave our kids the easy way. We wanted to, make them successful. We didn't make them start where we did. Some did, some didn't. But there's going to be a huge gap, I think, here in 5 to 10 years that I don't know in 5, 10 years, I still want to be in construction because where are these guys going to come from?
Right.
I mean, I'm going to be trying to do A-end work, high-end A-level work, and all I've got C and D guys.
Yeah.
There's going to come a point where that's going to be a big factor all across the U.S. because we don't teach these kids how to do this stuff.
I think
they all want the easy way.
Well-
They've been given stuff.
Well, other things have changed that though, Garrett. I mean, you look at because we're talking about trades, right? We're talking about trades. Look at how many shifts of businesses or careers have shifted from trades to the computer world, right? I mean, the internet changed a lot of that.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean,
everything these kids do is put on internet.
When we went to school, there were still trade shops and.
Oh yeah, we had wood shop
and
mechanics.
I mean, taking an auto class.
So how do we fix that?
I think they need to put that back in school.
I think that's the first step.
And coming from a small town, when we have FFA and things of that nature. I mean, my daughter learned how to do a cutting torch.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
That's freaking amazing.
When you talk about, I mean, she's a 15-year-old kid, 14-year-old at the time, and she's done something I've never done because I didn't have that.
Gensler, you're missing out right now. I know you'd have so much to say about this
no. Yeah. You know what's funny? Gensler, my old neighbor, he taught my daughter. I didn't grow up hunting.
Yeah.
Right? So we took her out at 13 years old and put a rifle in her hand, and she hit from 50 yards, 100 yards. I was like, wow, she's got something here. And she's calm, cool, and collected. Put her out in the stand. I've never killed a deer. She dropped a buck 125 yards. No problem.
Yeah.
No problem. So it's about teaching your kids these life lessons. I always taught my boys. I have older boys too. So I have a 29-year-old.
Holy shit.
Yeah, Mario. He's
Started young.
making me a peepaw or whatever I'm going to be.
Peepaw.
You know, and a 27-year-old.
I'm getting you a tag for your golf bag.
Yeah, boy, that'd be good. Peepaw Rivers. But the only thing I told them, if I didn't know, I said, just work harder than the man next to you.
Yeah.
The only thing that I could tell them, they would always have a job if they worked harder than the man next to them. Learn a trade, learn what you're doing, ask questions if you don't know, but outwork the man next to you.
Yeah.
And that's, my youngest one, he's the one that he brings that up. He's like, the one thing you taught me was work hard.
Yeah. I just think you hit a rub at some point in all this because AI, robots and shit aren't going to be able to build a house from scratch. You know what I mean? Like what we do
We don't think.
I know, but like industry is like, our industry is never going away. People are always going to need apartments and homes. But we're doing a piss poor job of training younger men and women how to do these trades because most of them don't want to do that hard work. Like, I can guarantee you in the next decade, the dudes that are going to draw the most money, like you don't want to be a stockbroker or some crypto guy or some video gamer or blogger, podcaster.
Blogger, yeah.
Like, you legit, if you can learn one of these high craft trades, you're going to be able to get premium dollar per hour because no one else is going to be able to do what you do. Get your grandfather, your dad to teach you that trade because how many great painters? I mean, if I called either one of you right now and I said, I need a new painter, you guys are going to give me 5 or 6 names, but how many of those would you say, like, hey, here's a young guy that'll be around for a while, like, you need to call so-and-so. Yeah. I'll bet you only have 1 or 2. You'll be pressed for 2. You probably have 1 that you're going to go, yeah, this dude right here, he's getting it and he's on the up. But like, there aren't those guys coming up in what we sell. Yeah. That's the biggest problem. We sell other people's work, especially me as a GC.
Sure.
I sell the management of jobs that they don't have the time to management, and I pull in the right guys with the right experience and the right crafts and trades.
Yep.
Those are diminishing rapidly.
Yep. There's no doubt.
You know, you brought up AI though. That's a serious threat to everything that we do.
It's amazing. Have you played around with it?
It's scary.
It's awesome. I do my show descriptions.
No,
and stuff.
It is amazing.
It's so great.
But it's scary.
You're really good?
Oh, dude, no. Like, so there's one for YouTube. Like, after my show goes live, it posts on YouTube. I pay like $8 a year or something like that, $16. The automatic AI that I would pay a guy overseas to sit and edit my show, do notes, timestamp. It gives me insight summary with timestamps. So if I say, Biz, we need to pull this clip, we can go push that. It does it in like 30 seconds. Gives me all that data. I can find that point where, hey, Randy, Randy said something really good about teaching his kids this. Yep. I guarantee you, once I go through there, I can find that timestamp. It was at, an hour and 43 minutes. Boom. Randy was talking about teaching his kids life lessons. It'll tell me that. I can grab that. We can do that versus us having to watch a 2-hour episode. Right. Go back, get it. Same thing. I can plug those insights and I can go to AI and Chat GPT and I can say, write me a compelling, interesting episode description based on these insights and this summary from the show, which I pulled from the AI from YouTube. Throw it in Chat GPT and it writes something like I'm a damn Grammy award-winning writer or something, like I
don't think
nuts.
That's correct. Grammy?
No, Grammy's music. So yeah, I don't know what it is for writing. So yeah, I went with that.
But think about that for a second.
That's insane.
Think about that for a second. Without AI, before you're hiring somebody to do that, right?
You're sending it to HR or something.
Right, and in the future, I think that's going to be what most people go to.
No doubt. You're going to have to learn how to implement it into your life.
I think, looking forward, I think, from what I understand about AI is just those that know how to use it, right? I mean, unfortunately, it's going to replace a lot of jobs.
Yeah, but it can't physical labor. It's never going to replace that.
Absolutely, 100%.
So that's where the rub is. Like, we're doing all this advancement on that end, but like we're not taking care of the lower end because those aren't sexy jobs. But I guarantee in the next 5 to 10 years, those are gonna be the sexy jobs because those are the guys that are gonna be getting $250 an hour to do your high-end trim carpentry.
Are the plumbers out there, were they sexy in 2021 around here? You damn right they were.
I'll tell you what, my plumber makes a shit ton of money. And I know because my plumber, the main one I use, he was working with somebody else. And I told him about these plumbing jobs that came up. He started his business, brought it back up again. He's buying horses and cars and shit. And
Well, they had the memes with the plumbers with the gold necklaces.
You guys, and you guys made fun of me because, like, and this is funny. I showed up on a job in Midland, Odessa. This guy had a pair of boots on, and I was like, literally, I was getting calls nonstop that, like, hey, the plumbing is so bad, shit is overflowing in the streets. We're on the news. Ugh. And I'd have to get in my truck the next morning, drive down, have my plumbers there. We're bidding repipes on these buildings, like 5, 6 properties, right? It just hasn't been approved yet. So we're putting out fires, right? But it's on the news, so like deal with it right now. Like we gotta take care of this. Like this is done. I show up on the job site, my master plumber is wearing these fancy boots. They got all these notches cut in the side. They got a cross on the front. Look very
exotic.
And I'm like, I'm in construction shoes.
Yeah.
We're walking around in shit, literally. And I'm like, that's really messed up, man. Like, you're wearing these really nice boots. And
I got another pair.
He's like, oh, you like these? I'm like, yeah. Well, he talked to my wife, like, he ends up sending me a pair for Christmas. And I'm like, I can rock these. The guys at the shop, man, dude, they made fun of me so bad. They're like, nice, bedazzled boots, blah, blah, blah. Can't you just get a pair of ostrich or, blah, 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 snake skin, whatever. And I'm like, whatever. I think they look pretty cool. I finally was out. The best was I went to California to see my little brother when he was living out there. I started clowning on him because he's got long hair down to here. He's got a beard down to here. He looks like ZZ Top. He's wearing skinny jeans.
Oh, boy.
He's got a pickpocket, a comb in his back pocket.
Oh, boy.
And I'm like, bro, what are you doing? And he looks at me, he looks at my boots, and he goes, did Chris Angel have a garage sale? And I'm like, damn, that was solid. I threw those boots in the trash after that trip. I did not wear those boots again after that trip. I was like, all right, touche, you little shit. You got me there. Right? That was legit. Chris Angel garage.
You got to be careful who you bust on, right? We all know that lesson.
Well, we all know. Like, if I don't bust on you, I probably don't like you a whole lot.
Absolutely.
If I don't give you a little bit of shit, I probably don't like you.
Yeah, that's the fun of what we do.
Yeah.
We bust on each other.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, we're getting towards the end of the show here, so. I doubt you guys have watched many of my episodes.
I've watched a few.
I know you've watched a few, so you're probably a little more prepared for this than Mario is. I know Mario has not watched an episode.
Oh, boy, Mario.
I know Mario has not.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie.
All right. So I get to ask you guys, normally I have one question, but you guys both have kids, so I get to ask you 2 questions.
Oh, boy.
And we're going to start with Mario.
Good.
So, if you had one piece of advice, a little bit of common sense you got to leave your kids today, what would that one piece of advice be?
Yeah, that's not hard. That's not a hard question. It's easy. I have a 20-year-old she's just finished her sophomore year at Texas Tech. Mm-hmm. Guns up.
Oh no!
Don't stop.
You don't have Patrick Mahomes. You can't talk that no more. Good luck with all that.
But I think everything starts at the home, right? So I think as parents, the foundation you lay for your kids, right? Because I know some of these universities, how they can easily change your children or their thought processes and whatnot. But I'll tell you, I just think that looking back and just watching her become a woman, I think a lot of it's just basic, fundamental house, if there's two parents and you're doing the best job you can, they watch you struggle, right? You go through the struggle, but you have a strong foundation, right?
Yeah.
You have faith. Got to have faith.
Yep.
That's important. Honestly, there's not. I think it's pretty simple.
But you got to leave them a piece of advice.
Hey,
You don't
well,
get
yeah,
to skate
but-
off of that.
No,
No.
but for me,
your easy question.
for me, I think it comes down to how have I influenced this person, right? This is a young mind. What did I do to influence that young mind to prepare her for the next chapter of her life, right? And I think it comes down to there's a pretty strong foundation. So when she gets hit with challenges, when we get hit with life, right, you're going to get hit with life.
Yeah.
And the better prepared she is, I think it comes down to her foundation, right? It comes down to the foundation that child has. And if they have that foundation where there's good, solid values, you know, we all have different values, and I
Yeah.
respect everybody's values, but I do see that the folks that are better prepared to deal with, you know, being independent, going out to, you know, to go start their own lives, a lot of times the only thing you have to hold on to are your values. You know, what are your values?
Yeah.
And for me, or for at least my kids, it's some of the basic things that Randy talked about. It's like strong work ethic, right? You know, no one's really born with talent. Sometimes genetics do play a factor in that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a short, fat, 5'7", you know. My son, you know, he was blessed with a little bit better genes because maybe my wife's side, he's a little bigger kid, but
He's a beast. I'd blame the mailman if I didn't know better.
That's for a whole different episode. Now.
I mean,
I was working a lot during that time. Trust me.
He was gone a lot.
I backtracked a lot, going, God, where was
His
I?
kid's gonna play college football. Like, he's a big boy.
But you know, it's funny because listening to them have conversations amongst themselves, I know some of the core values we've instilled in them. They have that.
Yeah.
So when they get hit with stuff, you know, they're going to draw back on some of those basic fundamental values.
Absolutely.
And I think, again, I'm going to say it's, hey man, it's faith. And for my opinion, it's having a strong faith in something. We all got to believe in some type of higher power, right?
Right.
We all got it.
Yep.
Family, right? How do you cherish your family?
Yeah.
Your friends, right?
Yeah.
You got to have friends. You got to have friends that, you know, are going to tell you what you don't want to hear sometimes because
Yeah.
you have a lot of friends that are not your friends. And, you know, I think that prepares them for their next step or their journey in life. And all you can do as a parent is hope that they make the best decisions based on the
Yeah.
values they grew up with.
That's so true. And you know what? I say that all the time. Like, I don't want the friend that's just gonna blow smoke up my ass. Like, we all have those. Like, you're not really a friend. Like, if I'm messing up, man, like, tell me. Like,
Tell
I
me.
want my good friend to pull me aside and be like, bro, what are you doing? Like, hey, man, like, or hey, you didn't handle that real well. You know, like, my wife is real great at that. She's like, you might not have done that right. Like, can we talk about this? I'm like, give me a little bit. Like, I need to just digest this. And then I come out and I'm like, well, what did you mean? She's like, okay, like, you know, everybody needs that friend, that significant other, that person to like be real with them and keep them in check a little bit.
And I think, you know, just something as simple as them entering the workforce at an early age teaches them so much, right? When they get to go work in the
Yeah.
workforce at 16, 17, 18, they're developing those skills, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I got to have some social skills. I got to have people skills. I got to have some work ethic.
Boy, that's
you
gone by
know,
the wayside.
And I
Yeah.
think that's missing a lot
Yeah.
right now. And
For sure.
you know, it's unfortunate, but I think those values are.
Yeah.
Again, I think it comes down to that
Stick
foundation.
to your values. I think that's a great one, Mario. You know, we instill that as a family. You know, we try to have a good schedule. The values that we're not perfect. You know,
Right.
I'm not perfect. My wife is not perfect. My wife is one that will call out. She calls it how she sees it. and
Your wife's a badass.
She is, and she said,
I don't know your wife, but I know his wife. His wife's a badass.
my wife is a badass, but she, you know, people they don't appreciate it sometimes up front,
No.
Yeah.
but they do in the end.
With Tasha, you get what you get.
get
Like,
what you get.
She's gonna tell you exactly what she thinks. That's the same thing with my wife. Like, My wife is not gonna hold back. Like she's gonna give
God
you. You
bless
want the
people-
business? She's gonna give you the
Yeah,
business.
God bless people that can do that. But
That's
the
it.
one thing that I think, that I want for my kids is to learn from your failures.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to fail. Everybody's going to fail at what you do. I almost failed at Behr early on in my career. I got checked. And it was an eye-opener for me.
Yeah.
I was doing the right thing, but it didn't seem like I was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So, but learning from what's right and wrong, but learning from what people think if it is a failure,
Yeah.
I tell you,
Yeah.
that will go a long, long way. Learning to fail, and what are you going to do with it the next time it comes up? So we're all going to fail in life. It's what life's about.
Yeah.
But how are you going to learn from it? So
Absolutely. That's what common sense is all about. And,
That's-
that's what I hope this show brings to people is you sitting here listening to us, share a cigar, have some bourbon, whatever. You get to hear about some of the ups and downs of what we went through, the advice we have or any certain person has, because that's from their experiences. That's from the ups and downs of life, and that's what put them where they are. And nobody just started out where they're at now. Like
No.
they all went through trials and tribulations. They had to learn from those things. So
That's right.
All right, we're gonna give him some time to think since he thought that one was so easy. I'm gonna let you start this one off.
Oh boy, I thought you said 2 questions.
2 questions.
Oh boy, okay, here we go.
Mario gave us like the most profound, long one I've ever heard.
Sorry about that.
I'm a doer, so I'm going to
In like
answer this.
30-something episodes, Mario hammered that one. So yours is, it's common sense.
Okay.
We like for all our guests to share their 2 cents. It can be your 2 cents about literally anything. Like just share some knowledge, share some whatever experience, like whatever you're inspired to say right now, or like whatever you want to share. But like give our listeners some like real Randy Rivers 2 cents. Like
Man,
you can
oh,
vent about
man.
whatever you want to. I mean, you can talk about how bad the Longhorns are going to suck this year in the
I would
SEC,
love to
or,
talk about that.
You know, whatever you really want to do.
I would
mean,
love
go
to talk
for it.
about that. I don't. Boy, that's a good one. You put Mario on the spot on the first one. You put me on the spot on this one. My 2 cents for everyone out there that's listening at this point. There comes a time where you think you got it licked, right? Life, and something hits you in the face. Something hits you in the face that you didn't anticipate. It's how you react to that.
Yeah.
I would say I read a book, and that was the one thing that I took from that book. And
Wasn't a picture book?
It was there was no picture.
Pop-ups.
Look, I'm not a big reader. There's no doubt. But the one thing, I said it earlier, you learn from your mistakes. But when something hits you in the face that you don't really think that you're doing wrong, and someone checks you, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, how are you going to react?
Yeah.
Mike Tyson said that, like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
think it's all fine until you get punched in the
mouth.
face.
That's it's so true.
Yeah.
Yep.
So for those out there that are going through something, whatever it is, and something that just whacks you in the face, that you're like, wow, I didn't even know that was me. I didn't know that was me. Well, how are you going to fix it?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
How are you
So-
going to man up?
That's it. And it's about learning those lessons. I think we talked a little bit about lessons. Could be a failure, but
Being humble in that.
100%. If you think that you're doing everything right and someone checks you, you might want to listen.
Yeah.
Very well said.
Thank you.
Very well said. Mario,
Oh,
it's your time.
Tougher question here. This is a much tougher question.
look, you got us in touch with
Oh,
our
no,
feelings.
this is a tougher one.
Yeah. I got to go back, and Randy's probably heard this because a few years ago I had to get up and give a little bit of a speech in front of
A
our
little
whole
speech?
company. Yeah, I think I held the record in time.
You-
Mario gives little speeches? Is this
No.
possible?
So, I learned something. I was fortunate enough. I love reading. I think I told you guys I love reading. I love reading mostly about our greatest generation, right? Greatest generation.
Baby boomers?
Absolutely.
Jesus.
Right? World War II, right? The war, baby boomer. But for me, I think the best thing I can give to anybody is, look, we all have different talents, skill sets, but it goes back to, look, I learned something from an old high school coach. It wasn't even my coach. He was an old football coach. And he had this saying. It was so simple, but it was so impactful. It was like, look, give it your all, right? Give it your all. All you can do is all you can do. And he just kept repeating that. And I was like, this guy's simple. He's a Southern, just simple, but the words were just all you can do. And he just kept repeating that. All you can do is all you can do. All you can do is all you can do, but all you can do is enough, right? If you give it your all, right, that should be enough, right? All what we give, whatever we're putting out there, if it's everything we've got, it should be enough, right? It should be enough. You should be able to feel like, hey, man.
How do you know you gave it your all, though?
That's a good question.
Where do you draw the line? Like, how do you judge yourself then on, like, truly knowing you gave it your all? Because, like, I'm in the gym. I work out a lot better when I have, like, a partner with me. Because, like, I'm pushing myself just that much more. You're comparing yourself to that other person, or having that mentor or that goal, like, to push yourself to that.
Yeah,
like,
sometimes it takes having another person, right? Sometimes it takes having another person, but
because not everybody has that inner.
No, they don't.
That inner, like, fuck your bitch, like, like that fuck that. Like,
yeah.
I'm gonna bring that extra out. Like, I really gave it 110. Like, it's really easy to say I gave it 110. Did you really?
Well, what was the work you put in prior to what you're doing? I think.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that, Mario, because my daughter, she's a runner. She's a good runner. And we didn't know she was a good runner until she ran. And I looked at her before one track meet, and I said, "Your good is good enough."
It is.
And she just stared at me like, "How do you know, Dad?" I'm like, "Because I've seen it. I've seen the work you put in." I think it goes back to what you do to get to where you're at. So I love that.
Think about, like, just basic 101 management, right? So when you're managing a team and you look at your team, and if you have someone that's giving it their all, right, their 100% is going to look different than yours.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right? You have to manage those expectations, but just because their expectations may fall short, but if they're giving you 100% of what they got,
That's all I got.
you've got to manage that. You've got to say, hey, man, this is good. I appreciate that, right? You're not going to be a Rivers that's up here. His 100%'s up here,
God.
right? But maybe Mario's is down here, but he's giving me everything he's got. I'll take that. I'll take that all day long, because you know what? You need
you're getting the 100.
I'd rather take everybody at their
100%.
At their 100% versus someone that's giving me, you can have the most talent, but like they say, man, talent ain't shit unless you live up to it, right?
Yeah.
You got to live up to it.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So I think that means a lot to different people. To answer your question, I think it's just, hey, man, you get up, you try to be the best person you possibly can be, and sometimes that's hard, right?
Yeah.
Being honest, having
Vulnerable.
integrity, right? Being vulnerable. You're going to make mistakes. We're human, right? What humanizes somebody? I mean, I love being human. I make mistakes all the freaking time. It's like, people laugh at me, and it's like, hey, man, that's just who I am.
Only when you do the mustache.
No, the mustache wasn't a mistake. That was a great few
But that
years.
was I lost a bet to my son. I had to grow the Mario Brothers mustache handlebar because I made a bet with him in first grade. I'm like, hey, you're playing this team in the Super Bowl, and I'm like, you guys have lost to them twice in the regular season. I go, if you guys win this game, I go, I will look like Mario Brothers for a full year. And kid you not, man, he played probably his best game. He played his best game that day, and I'm like, shit.
He wanted embarrassed dad.
I was like, damn, I gotta look like Mario Brothers for the next year.
It was a
and I
good
did. I held up my end
You,
of the bargain.
you did, and
twisted
you
it
did
up.
not reveal that until just now.
Yeah, that's
Well,
awesome.
it's pretty bad when people in our industry come up to you and say, hey, I heard you're giving out free mustache rides.
Oh, man.
Sorry, I didn't mean to close with that. But yeah, you just got to give it your all. I think,
All right. Well,
I love it.
guys, thank you so much for joining me on the show. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode of Common Sense. I hope y'all learned something. I mean, you got a lot of years of wisdom over here speaking
Years.
to you for 2 hours plus. This might be one of the longest episodes we've done. Biz is over here giving me the sleepy eye. But I appreciate all y'all tuning in. I hope you'll join us next week. We have another great one lined up for you guys. But enjoy the rest of your night. Peace.
Peace out.
thank you guys. Appreciate you.